Was he better than you actually thought, or was he as good as you knew he'd be?
Do you know what? I've had a load of people say, and you get people say, look, you were doing well, and we had you one up, we had you level, we had you, one down or two up or whatever. But he was a world class fighter, and he caught me with a world class shot. So you got to give that man that credit and respect, because I've been in these situations and done it to opponents before, and I've took plenty of credit for it. So you got to give it back to him for it. And he's a very, very good fighter. He's a very good fighter, very tricky, but when I got in the ring of him, I thought, was this it? Like, I expected more. When I got in the ring of him, I thought, was this it? Like, I expected more. When I got in the ring of him, I thought, was this it? Like, I expected more. When I got in the ring of him, I thought, was this it? Like, I expected more.
What's good, family? So mash the like button and subscribe. So we just heard there from Billy Ho Saunders, giving us his extremely professional and honest and true analysis of his fight with Canelo Alvarez. Because what I love most about this particular segment was the part where he said that he expected more from Alvarez. Because I don't care what no one says, I don't care how much you hate Billy Ho, he is absolutely correct. Yeah? When you watch that performance, I can't lie to I was thinking exactly the same thing. Yeah? Canelo Alvarez hit Billy once, and Billy lasted 90 seconds of running backwards, didn't get hit on the eye again, and then jacked and quit in the corner. But having watched that, I have to completely agree with Billy. At that point in time, no word of a lie, yeah, when I saw Billy say no more, when I saw Billy beg Ben Davison to drag him out of the ring, at that moment I thought to myself, you know what? I expected a bit more from Alvarez, to be fair. You know what I mean? I thought that, you know what I'm saying? I thought that the fight would be ended a bit more conclusively. Because obviously, Alvarez hitting Billy once and him jumping out, that wasn't conclusive enough. That wasn't devastating enough. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I'm being funny, but from Billy's point of view, he definitely served himself well, didn't he? I can definitely see from Billy's point of view how he expected more. Because after all them years of talking about how much of a hard ass he was, the fact that Alvarez made him quit. Alvarez made you quit. You muppet. Yeah? Alvarez made you quit, you big mupp. What do you mean you expected more? Now, I'm sure there's people who couldn't understand the sarcasm, so I thought I'd make it spell out clearly for you, man. What planet is Billy Ho on? Oh well, I expected more. Oh, you expected more? How else could he have turned you out? How else could he have emasculated you in front of your kids? I don't know, you tell me. Because in my mind, as I've explained many times before, the bottom line is, as far as boxing goes, to be hit once and that be the end of your fight is the most soft and supple thing a fighter, in quote. I'm not even calling Billy Ho a fighter. He's not a fighter. Billy Ho is he's a bottom. He's a top. I tell you what, Billy isn't on top. Yeah, tell you what, we won't call it Billy Ho is not a pure fighter. He's not an average fighter. He is a top fighter. He's good. He'll have a go when he's winning or when it's close. The minute he's looking down bad, the minute he's not on the upper hand, he's looking for a way out. And that's the truth of it. Let's not forget this. Alvarez, as I've just explained, Alvarez wasn't pounding away on Billy. And I think that's where, horribly or most confusingly enough, I think that's where Billy Ho Saunders gets confused. Oh well, I expected more. Oh, he gets confused at the fact that, Billy, you ran out of the ring. That's the only reason you can sit there today and try and make, I'm not sure, I expected more. That's the only reason why you can expect more. Because guess what? If your minge hadn't have jumped out, if your ratty minge hadn't have jumped out from your jockstrap, you would have stayed in there. And guess what? By staying in there, you surely would have found out. You surely would have found out. And you wouldn't have been asking about expecting more. Let's put it that way. Let's leave it at that, shall we? If Billy Ho hadn't have found out he had a big fluffy minge, if Billy Ho's minge hadn't jumped out on him in the middle of the start of the 9th round, if his big muffler hadn't have made an appearance at the start of the 9th round, and he jumped out of the ring. You best believe Alvarez wouldn't have left you asking no questions. About, I can't lie, I expected a bit more. Yeah, it's easy to expect a bit more when you get hit once and run out of the ring. Because we was all, Billy, you weren't the only one expecting more. Your fans. That's another thing. Since we're on the topic of expecting more, your fans, if you really want to know who was left wanting more, it weren't Alvarez's performance. It wasn't your expectations of Alvarez's performance. It was your fans who bet money on your big heart. They're wondering, they're saying, they're the only people, they're the only stakeholders in this fight who have the right to sit there and say, you know what, I expected a bit more. Are your fans who bet money, betting on your heart and your performance. You said you got the biggest heart. You said to Alvarez, you haven't seen a heart like mine. And all your goofy fans sat there, listened to that, and I saw the comments. They was in the comments saying, yeah, Billy, yeah, Alvarez hasn't seen a heart like yours, yeah. Little redhead, they were saying about Alvarez. Oh yeah, redhead, small redhead. Oh, look how small, no word of a lie. Billy Saunders fans were ranting and raving, look how small Alvarez is. He's too small. Billy's heart's too big. You man were right in the comments, so you know what you said. That was the narrative before the fight. You was the one building expectations for yourself. Alvarez didn't build no expectations. In fact, Alvarez called it to a T. Alvarez said he's going to get slapped in the 8th or 9th round. So in terms of expectations, what do you mean you expected more? Alvarez give you exactly what he told you going to do. He told you, I'm going to stop that muppet in the 8th round. So what do you mean you expected more? He turned you out and emasculated you and made you jack. Exactly on cue. There was no listen, what we do know is, not one Alvarez fan had to ask a question about his performance. Oh, Alvarez, you know what, I mean, there's not one Alvarez fan who, at the end of that fight, said to themselves, I expected more from Alvarez. But you best believe there's a whole bag. In fact, every single honest Billy Saunders fan will say they expected more from you. But this just sums up, the level of shillery in the British media. For this media man, for this goofy media Donny, to accept these kind of answers. Oh, you know what? Yeah, well, about the fight, I expected more from Alvarez. How can interviewers sit there and listen to that? I'm not even going to go to the source of it, because I could sit here and say, well, I can't believe how Billy is that deluded, but we already know that. We already know Billy's fully deluded. We can't control the amnesia that Alvarez knocked into Billy's barnet for him. Because you best believe, yes, Billy's fully deluded, but I think I can't hold him fully responsible. I think half of the problem, half of the reason Billy expects more from Alvarez's performance is, I think Alvarez hit Billy so hard he forgot how the fight was going, and he genuinely thought, you know what I'm saying? The reason he's been left 6 weeks later expecting more is he can't remember what happened. He can't remember the whooping he was taking. He can't remember where the fight was going until he ran out, until his big muffler jumped out on him and made an appearance. Yeah? So we can't really hold Billy fully responsible. However, who we can hold responsible is the media. Because media, you weren't hit by Alvarez. You haven't got an excuse for being a shill. Now we know that El Trapahan and the MTK Shilaloa cartel have probably got to you and touched them next TalkSport Don and told him, listen, Billy's going to jump on your show and talk a whole bunch of rubbish and start setting... And the thing is, just quickly, what did I tell you, man? I told you, man, a month ago now, that all of this is going on to set up a rematch. I told you. No one wanted to listen, did they? At the time, no one wanted to listen. Because we started hearing Ben say, oh, he was about to turn orthodox. He was begging to turn orthodox. And, oh, now you got Billy saying, oh, I expected more. And I was up 2 rounds. See what I mean? What do you think this narrative is doing? This narrative is setting up certainly big fights in the future. But I'm talking about a rematch. I was up 2 rounds. I could have turned orthodox. I expected more. I wasn't out of my depth. All of these things are setting up a call for a rematch, because that's what these cartels are involved. That's what these cartels want to take part in. These small fry fights, there's no money in them. The big money is in the big fights, obviously. They want to wheel Billy out again for another go. That's where this narrative's coming from. Because any man who has a little bit of a brain, and yes, Billy has blunt force trauma-induced amnesia, but even so, I don't care how much amnesia ALvarez knocked into your head. Even with the amount of blunt force trauma Billy took that night, he still don't get off. He still doesn't have an excuse. It was that, you know what I'm saying? It was that clear how well you was schooled. There wasn't one punch you threw that ALvarez even thought about. So what do you mean you expected more? Let's think mathematically about this, yeah? Genuinely. All of you Billy Ho fans out there, please answer me this. Watch the fight, and you please tell me, timestamp one moment in that fight, yeah? Where you can say, YB, watch this timestamp. Here you will see how Billy was doing something, if that makes sense. Show me something. Show me one point in that fight where you can say, look, YB. This is where Billy was expecting more from ALvarez. Does that make sense? Show me, factually, where Billy could have got this notion from. Because for him to rock on international TV 6 weeks after he jacked, after talking all that rubbish for God knows how long, for years, his whole career has been based on having a massive heart, being a bare knuckle warrior champion. You've built this reputation for being a bare knuckle warrior champion. 6 weeks after that bare knuckle warrior champion gets exposed for being a big fluffy muff, all he's got to talk about is how he expected more from his opponent. What? Just think about that for a second. You've built a whole reputation on being a certain way, yeah? That bubble gets pricked, and you're talking about how you expected more from your opponent. And I'm sure there's people out there who will say, oh, YB, what do you mean? I can't believe you ignored what he said before that. Listen, when you understand speech and whatnot, and how and the ways people say things, when someone says something when someone says, oh, he's a great fighter, but you can just ignore the first part, because the way people kind of structure sentences is you always take the last thing they say. If someone says, oh, he's a great person, but is a bit of a knob, you take the last part. You understand? Billy's just trying to be polite. But in his mind, what he's really thinking is the last part. Because otherwise you wouldn't say it. Billy could have, if Billy's true feelings was reality, he'd have come on and said, ALvarez is a great fighter, and he proved that by making me throw out all my bare knuckle talk and I jacked in the corner. That's all he should have said. Any rational or logical man, not even rational or logical, any man who's got a pair of eyes in their head. And Billy might have a point here, you know. For a while, I didn't believe Billy even had eye damage, but the way that he's perceived this fight, his eyes must have been scrambled, because he weren't seeing what we were seeing. And like I was about to say, anyone who saw the fight with no bias, just saw it. You just have to watch the fight. Anyone who watched that fight, not one person would conclude from that, yeah, ALvarez was a great fighter, but we expected more from him. So for Billy to come out and say that, for Mr. Big Billy, who actually, from his point of view, he's been talking about, oh, I'll never quit in front of my kids, and my kids, I'll do this, I'll do that. You was the one, that's his person, if that makes sense. That's his beliefs, or his alleged beliefs. So for someone with them strong beliefs, to 6 weeks later, come out and say, on reflection, ALvarez was good, but I was expecting more. What? You was expecting more? How can you get more than making you... ALvarez made you throw all your beliefs out the window. You didn't want no part of them beliefs. ALvarez hit you once, which I put to you is that's the most basic thing any boxer can do. For a man to be hit once and throw all of his beliefs out the window, you didn't want to know any more about heart. After ALvarez hit you, yeah, you didn't want no heart. You said to all of your beliefs, you know what? I don't want you no more. If it means I've got to take another one of them, I don't want no parts of no bare knuckle champion. If it means I've got to take another one of them from Alvarez, I don't want no heart. I don't want no bare knuckle. I don't want no champion. You can take my belt, is what you said to Alvarez. Take my belt. I don't want to take another one of them. Take my belt, take my beliefs, take my booty. You gave him your booty, you did. You put it straight up in the air. Head down, arse up, is what Alvarez did to you. Alvarez made you put your booty square in the air. And 6 weeks after that, 6 weeks after, Alvarez was hanging at the back of you. You want to talk about how you expected more? Wow, you expected more. What planet is this man on? Because even your most loyal fans, whenever they've shielded for you, they've even said, yeah, he quit, but he was smart, and yeah, he quit, but he was saving his eye. Not one of them man said, he didn't quit and he expected more. You understand? Even your most delusional fans all accept that you was well out of your depth. Tell a lie, actually, there is some goofies who think he was winning. Oh, he was winning until he got hit once and jumped out. And it's really important here to kind of signify the hitting once. He literally got hit once. That's the bare minimum any fighter can do. I could do that. I don't care. People say, oh, YB, you couldn't do it. What do you mean? What do you mean I couldn't get hit once and jump out? Like, what is this? Everyone can do that. A child can be hit once and say they don't want no more. Which is exactly what Billy did. Because Billy's legs was getting tired. And he knew the writing was on the wall. And that's really the biggest travesty here for me. That's what really frustrates me the most. Is the fact that Billy knew where this was going. Billy, like, he tries to make out, oh, you know, yeah, I was winning 2 rounds and I expected more. But deep down in his heart, he must know. Because if he didn't, he wouldn't have jumped out so quick. If he didn't know where the fight was going, and he really believed he was 2 rounds up, why didn't you stay in the ring? Because something is not adding up here. You tell us you expected more. You tell us you was 2 rounds up. Well, I don't know about you, man, yeah, but if I'm in there with an opponent and I expect more, and I'm 2 rounds up, and I've only been hit once with one big shot, why did you jump out for? Why didn't you say no? Someone showed me the evidence, yeah, of Billy saying, no, I'm winning. Please don't pull the fight. I'm up 2 rounds. Because we've seen it before. We've seen a fighter winning by 2 rounds. And the fight's it's one of them ones. And the fighter's saying, listen, don't pull it. I'm winning. Don't pull it. I've got gas left. Don't pull it. I've got new tricks. Where was all that protesting? We didn't hear, it's amazing how now, 6 weeks later, now you're nice and safe in the comfort of your home. You want to talk about how you was up 2 rounds. You want to talk about how you expected more. But a man who really believed that would have been saying it on the night. You cannot pull this fight because I'm winning by 2 rounds. You cannot pull this fight because I'm expecting more from him. I'm not impressed, which is basically what you're saying. To say you expect more is basically to say, I'm not impressed with the current performance. Trust me, listen. When Alvarez hit you, you was impressed. You was all the way impressed. Because if you wasn't, you'd have stayed in. If you wasn't, listen, a man who's not impressed with something, yeah, let me tell you how it'd play out. Billy would have been hit in the 8th round, yeah. A man who wasn't impressed, a man who expected more, would have taken that shot and said, what's that? That didn't hurt. And not only, because to be fair to Billy, I think he did end up saying that. But don't get too carried away. Please don't get too carried away, troll fans, because there's an old saying: actions speak louder than words. So not only would a man who expected more be hit once and say, "Is that it, Canelo? I expected more than that one uppercut. What more have you got?" Billy may have said that, but the actions, the follow through would have been, okay, I got hit in the 8th round. I expected more from him. I'm going to go out in the 8th, 9th and 10th and 11th and 12th and fill him in. Or certainly, even if you don't fill him in, certainly I'm going to go looking for him to show me more. Because currently, at the end of round 8, I'm not impressed. At the end of round 8, I'm expecting more. That's what a man does when he really expects more. You had your full filling. Your cup was full. You'd had all you can take from Alvarez. Because he was Listen, Alvarez, at the end of the 8th round, Alvarez was 9 inches deep in Billy. You best believe that. He was all in. He was all the way in Billy. Billy didn't want no more. But trust me, Billy weren't expecting no more girth from Alvarez. Billy was tapping out. Yeah? Because we all saw it. We all saw how Alvarez was hanging at the back of him. Alvarez was hanging out the back of Billy. And that's the thing. The way Billy talks, yeah, he reminds me of one of them dudes, yeah. Have you ever seen a soft dude go to jail and come out of jail? They'll say things like, "Oh, you know, I didn't get pressed in jail." You understand? "Oh, I didn't get pressed in jail. No, I wasn't a victim in jail." And no one says anything because everyone knows how it went down. But you just kind of, you don't want to disrespect their manhood. So you say, you know what? Yeah, you're right. You didn't get victimized in jail. But everyone knows deep down, yeah, your man got victimized. Billy, you got victimized. So whilst we'll all sit here or certain man will sit there, and Tyrone Booth and Shillerone Booth will sit there and say, "Oh no, Billy, yeah, you're right, Billy. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you weren't victimized by Canelo Alvarez. Oh yeah, you're right, Billy. Alvarez wasn't hanging at the back of you. You're right, Billy. Alvarez wasn't 8 inches deep in your backside." That's what you can believe. But we all watched it. And your actions said it all. Your actions of jumping out of there said all we need to know about how much you did or didn't really expect. Because we can all be hard men. People say, "Why be you try to be a hard man. You only speak on videos." Guess what? We found out 5-6 weeks ago. That's all Billy does too. All Billy does is speak on videos. Does he not? Because when it came to him to start showing some of the actions he's been talking, he talked to Daniel Dubois about pushing through. So don't tell me, YB, you're only a voice. You don't do it for real. Nor does Billy. Billy doesn't do it for real. Billy said Billy tried to point out all the things other people do wrong. Callum Smith, you turned up for a payday. Rocky Fielding, you turned up to take a dive. Daniel Dubois, go out on your back. You're meant to push through. Fighters push through. Daniel Dubois, it's not all just knocking people over. You have to take hit, and I'm going out with no eyes and no legs, is what Billy said. Those were his words. So where was his actions then? Because guess what? Like I've explained many times before, Joe Joyce hit Daniel Dubois on the same place, and Daniel Dubois and Joe Joyce, they're 250-pound men. Alvarez is only 160 pounds or 168 pounds, and like Billy Ho likes to point out, Alvarez was small. So wait there, you was getting hit by the small man once. Daniel Dubois was getting pounded on in the same place again and again and again by a 250-pound man for rounds. Not once. The equivalent of what Billy did here would be Daniel Dubois being jabbed once on the eye and jumping out and begging his corner to pull him out. Daniel Dubois went back to his corner about 3-4 times, 3-4 rounds. He went back and went out and went back and went out. And to be fair to Dan as well, I actually rate Daniel Dubois as a man, because guess what? Daniel Dubois didn't take the weasel's way out. Billy Ho took the weasel's way out. The weasel's way out is, oh, you know what? Let me go back to my corner and beg them to drag me out. Let me go back to my corner and get Ben Davison to chew my ear off. And then when my corner pull me out, I can put it all on them and say, well, you know, they was doing their job to help me and I was begging to carry on. See what I mean? Billy Ho was calculating. Daniel Dubois, to his credit, he wasn't calculating. He said, you know what? I'm going to own this. I don't want no more. I'm going to own it as a man. I'm going to go down on my knee and I'm going to take the rap on my shoulders. I've got big shoulders. I can take the rap. I don't want no more. Let me own this. And that's really, for a long time, yeah, people have criticised people taking knees. But the more I think about it now, I actually respect that more. I respect a man more to take a knee in the ring, which is essentially fully, when a man takes a knee, that there is his fully accepting responsibility. He's fully conceding. You know what, Joe, you've got me on this one. I own that as a man. It's much better than running back to your corner and, you know what I'm saying, playing politics and, oh, pull me out and then I can make out on my hard ass. Oh, I wanted to push on, but Billy, you didn't want to push on. We all saw it. You can wheel out Ben Davison all you want to try and convince us otherwise and tell us how, oh no, I was begging to carry on and I told him I wanted to turn orthodox. Who are you kidding? Where was all this dialogue? Because we didn't see any of it or hear any of it. And it's all on video. Even if Eddie Hearn did cut the audio, thought he was smart, but we caught him lacking anyway. Danny Dubois, true fighting man, owned it. He owned his perceived weakness. And even now, even 6 weeks later, still he still wants to live and try and, oh yeah, I expected more, and oh yeah, my team's no word of a lie. I've got videos coming soon from this same interview. Billy's basically putting it all off on his team. Yeah, my team pulled me out. I wanted to carry on, but you know, that's their job, and yeah, I was frustrated for a little while. Trust me, Billy's proper going along with this narrative that his team pulled it in and he wanted to carry on, and it was out of his hands. And this is why I can't stand it. Teams, should not be allowed to pull their fighters out, in my opinion. What for? You're a man, isn't it? You're an adult. It's not a case where, these are children. No, you're an adult. Fighters should be the only ones who are allowed to stop the fight or a ref. Bottom line. It shouldn't be this team thing, because I don't understand the need for it. I don't understand what purpose it serves, apart from to make people look better. You're a man, you signed a fight. If you don't want no more, make it clear. Otherwise, the fight goes on. That's how it should be. This fight should have gone this way. Listen. Billy gets hit in the 8th round. And he has to wave the flag or not. That's how it should go. It shouldn't be, oh yeah, let me get my team to pull me out and then I can rock up 6 weeks later and talk about how I expected more and talk about how my team stopped me from fulfilling my win because I was 2 rounds up. I expected more and I was going to turn orthodox. No word ever lie. Billy starts saying, I had new things I was going to try, but my team pulled me out. I was going to turn orthodox. I had new tricks up my sleeve. No joke. Billy implies that he had new tricks and he was going to find a way to win still because he was 2 rounds up. It's shocking. Shocking to listen to. Oh yeah, the best man won that night, but it's always a but with him. Never once does he actually say, yeah, ALvarez tapped my backside for me. Yeah. ALvarez was 9 inches deep in me, which he was. That's what a true man would do. A true man would say. And that's the thing. Danny Dubois already made that concession. Danny Dubois already said, yeah man, I'm taking a knee because Joe Joyce is hanging right at the back of me right now. 100%. Billy, weasel. Yeah? Keep weaseling anyway, because the more you weasel, the more I get to talk about it. And I don't care what no one says, yeah. This topic has me rock hard. I love this topic. I love it because for a while, it died down. For about the last 2 weeks, until this interview came out 2 weeks ago. For the last 2 weeks, it's been pretty dead. It's been dying off. But then this interview came out. And it just reminded me that Billy really is. He thinks he's that guy still. He hasn't been humbled at all. He hasn't taken any of this on board. You know what? I'm a big mouth and I've backed up none of it. I need to have some serious introspection here. He's done none of that. He still believes he's bare-knuckle champion warrior. He still believes he's a hard ass, and he showed that by driving around with no seatbelt on and cutting people up, and just you know what I'm saying? He still believes he's that guy. He's a ruthless warrior. So on that basis, ruthless warriors show it. They don't rock up and fold. Just like Muck Tapper, to be fair. Muck Tapper's exactly the same. Muck Tapper will hit some old man and then ends up in a fight with Prober, Dustin Poirier, and folds after the first bit of testing. It's amazing the amount of bare knuckle on top fighters that are created. None of these dudes want to push through. None of these dudes come from behind, do they? And that's what happened, you see. That's why ALvarez ended up taking Billy from behind. Because you man don't know how to come from behind. That's the lesson that was proven. You man don't come from behind. And that's why you get took. That's why Billy got took from behind. Because you don't know how to dig deep and spin him round. So you end up just, you know what I'm saying? you end up with Alvarez just, riding you. Yeah? Because you best believe Alvarez rode the legs off of Billy, as we saw. He wants to be deluded thinking he won 2 rounds or thinking he was up 2 rounds, and if Billy wants to be deluded believing he expected more, that's fine. There used to be a time here where journalists would seek to dig deeper. Just basic digging deeper. But what you'll notice is because they're all paid off now, these so-called journalists, they're actually handed scripts. This TalkSport interviewer will have been handed a script, a question script, or certainly there would have been collusion, if that makes sense. Like, these are the questions you're allowed to ask me. You can, if you do your research, you'll notice anyway. 99% of the media today, or the 99% of the mainstream media, is all, well, if you want to interview me, I need to see the questions first. I need to clear the questions with my PR team. Do you understand? Otherwise, these big names as such, they just say no. Either you can ask my questions or not at all. Because of how, mainstream media has kind of lost their foothold. 30 years ago, BBC and whatnot, TalkSport or whoever, they were the only way to get your name out there. So the power dynamic was in their favour. Now, with social media, Billy Joe Saunders as such, he doesn't really care if he goes on TalkSport. So if TalkSport want the exclusive, the only way they're going to get that is if they agree to answer certain questions. And that's why you never see there's never any controversy. There's never any follow-up. Seriously, listen to the whole interview. You never hear any follow-up questions. Like, a basic follow-up question would have been, after those words from Billy, you just said people had you 2 rounds up, or you just said that you was expecting more. Can you explain how? You jacking in the corner. Can you explain how Alvarez beating the beliefs out of you led you to believe you expected more? That would be a basic follow-up question that we all were dying to know. All dying for Billy to explain what he means by expected more after the whooping and quitting and jacking you took. Alvarez whooped the jack into you, and you want to talk about you was underwhelmed by Alvarez's performance. We all want to know what he could have done more then, because I'm confused here. It's not as if you weren't about to go spark out, innit? It's not like, well, Billy made it the distance. You was about to go flat out on your back in the next round. You knew it and we all knew it. So what do you mean you wanted more? That there is a basic, standard follow-up question. Where was it? Nowhere to be found. Instead, the interviewer skeets on straight onto some next pre-programmed question. There was no dynamism in the interview. There was no kind of ebbing and flowing. It was all, yes, thank you MTK for handing me my script to read out to Billy. And that's why you'll notice all of this. Just to be fair, same as Tyson Fury. What have I been saying for a long time now? Tyson Fury, John Fury, Bob Arum, Frank Warren. They're all reading off the same hymn sheet. This is all centrally done. They're passed down the script. Oh, we can't do it. Regulations. We can't do it. C19. Do you remember that? For 6 months with the AJ fight, they're all saying the same thing magically. And that's why now, what do we start hearing? Ben Davidson, #1 Shilaloa cartel employee. Billy Joe Saunders, wheeling out the narrative. Oh yeah, he was going to turn orthodox. He expected more. He wasn't out of his depth. You tell me, what did Ben Davison come out and say? Billy wasn't out of his depth. I'd like to see him have another go in the future. I think he could do... that's what they were saying. 100%. And now Billy's saying the same thing. Could be coincidence. I'll put to you it's not. And when the media doesn't challenge these things, it allows the low IQ Donnies out there who just hear it. They hear this and think, oh yeah, Billy was underwhelmed. And the worst thing is, I'm even seeing it in my comment section. People telling me, YB, what are you talking about? Billy was up 5 rounds. Billy was winning. No word of a lie. People in my comment section genuinely angry at the fact that Alvarez won every round in that fight. Oh, YB, Billy was coming on strong and then he slipped and all this kind of stuff. Oh, Billy was about to do this. Billy was about to do that. They genuinely are begging for the rematch. This certain subsector. But that's how these narratives start. They start with people being unquestioned. Because even the biggest shill for Billy, if he was questioned on it and asked to explain, these cats can't explain anything. Because it's inexplicable. It's inexplicable to believe from that performance anyone could be expecting more from ALvarez. Because we all knew what would happen. Okay, Billy jacked in the 8th, and guess what? In the 9th or 10th, he was about to go out. People, not just me, loads of people have been saying it. This was going to be one of Canelo Alvarez's highlight reel knockouts, and it was, because Billy's legs were slowing up. He was already damaged. He was literally the next few shots. He was going spark. He was going to join Amir Khan. Literally, he was on a one-way trip to Khan. Yeah, that's where he was going, and he knows it. So how can a man on a one-way trip to Khan be underwhelmed by his opponent's performance? We don't know that because these goofy interviewers don't want to ask the questions, and they allow these goofy narratives to be planted and then grow, and they grow into a big goofy rematch that we will have into a big goofy rematch that's wheeled out. And all you dons out there who got suckered the first time, you'll hear Billy ranting and raving about how big his heart is, and you'll buy it again. The same way we all bought Tapper or whatever. That happens every time.